So we're going to have one of those two things, and what I want, and I'm sure what you want, is for the people to be heard. Now, there's a handful of people that don't want the people to be heard, but these are people that are in positions of power, and if the people are heard, then they may lose their power. But outside of these few powerful people, the people themselves want to be heard and want to be a part of the process and want to be represented. Now, some people say, well, the answer is a third party. Well, the answer is never a third party, because you get too many parties, then you can have a minority person come in, like Hitler came in during a time where there was many parties. And it's possible if you have a lot of parties, you could wind up getting somebody good, but then you can get somebody very bad. But under the two-party system, we may not get perfection, but at least it's very rare that we would get a tyrant under a two-party system. So what's the answer? Okay, the answer is in the plan I'm going to present right now. And the basic idea that I'm behind this is to get our representatives to vote according to the will of the majority. And the question is, how do we go about getting them to do that? Now, we're not going to change the Constitution. We will keep the representatives and senators just in the position they are, but we're going to change their job description. Remember, we said last week that our Congress has the wrong idea of a job description. They think their job description is to spend money and then to tax us so they can have even more money to spend. And it's time the people rose up and let them know that that's not their job description. Now, we're not going to implement majority will by working through the Congress that we now have. They're going to have to be replaced. And we're going to replace them. Now, when they are replaced and we get the right person in there, then that right person can represent the people. But how is this going to take place? That is the question. Because normally, if we replace a congressperson with another one, we still have the same problem. So to solve this problem and get our new representatives, that we're going to replace the old ones with new ones, and this may take a generation, maybe 2 generations, once the idea is accepted, because change usually doesn't come quickly. This is an idea that will start with 1 or 2 elected representatives and eventually spread. And the first thing is to set up what I call the Committee for Representation. This will be a committee that will create the organization necessary to be able to implement this plan. And what the committee will do is, when it comes election time, or time to campaign, we will find somebody that's willing to run that will work with us. And when we find this person, we will ask him one question. And we will say, we will get behind you and we will raise money for you and we will do everything possible to get you elected if you do one thing. And here's the one thing. Are you willing to vote according to the will of the people? And if he says yes, then we have a possibility. Then the next thing we'll say, are you willing to actually sign a statement and go public with a commitment that you are going to vote according to the will of the people? And if he says yes to this, then we have a potential candidate. Now, the great part of this, our candidate doesn't have to have a lot of charisma, because we're going to get our candidates elected on an idea, not on charisma. And it doesn't matter whether he's a Republican or Democrat. either a Republican or Democrat can come forth and make this commitment to serve the will of the people. Now the question is, how in the world does he represent the will of the people? Let's say we get him in. How does he represent then the will of the people more than what is happening now? I mean, a lot of our Congress people are aware of our will, but they aren't doing anything. He's made a commitment. So how do we follow through here? What we do is when we get a person in office that is promoted through the Committee of Representation, when we get him in office, he's committed to vote according to the will of the people, and here's the key. He discovers the will of the people by his constituents telling him how they want him to vote on certain issues. And this is the way it works. Anyone that he represents can become one of his co-legislators. For instance, let's say John Q. Smith is elected, and when he's elected, under this plan, under this commitment, he then calls for co-legislators to come forth, and they sign up under him. So if John Q. Smith is your representative, then you got to become a co-legislator if you want to. If you don't want to, then you don't do anything. If you want to, you say, well, sign me up. I want to be part of this process. If you're not interested enough to sign up, well then that's probably a good thing, because you probably don't know what's going on anyway. There's a lot of people vote for things that don't know what's going on. Even the last primary that we had, I saw half a dozen people I didn't even know the names of, so I didn't know what I was voting for. And this often happens. So the people that are interested in telling our representative how to vote, they sign up and they become a co-legislator. So let's say John Q. Smith gets 10,000 co-legislators signing up under him. He gets 10,000 of them. Now, we send him off to Congress, and he's committed that when the majority of his co-legislators vote on a certain issue and send him how they want him to vote, he is committed to vote for it. So let's say, as I said, he's got 10,000 co-legislators, and there's a hot button issue on abortion of some kind. It's a really hot one. And so he puts the bill out on the internet, and the co-legislators tune into his site and they read the bill. Now, some people are interested in this bill and some people aren't. If the co-legislator is not interested, he doesn't have to vote on it. So the co-legislators that are interested, one way or another, they will read the bill. Unlike what happens in Congress today, where hardly anybody reads any bill. They'll read the bill, and then they'll decide how they want to vote. So let's say he's got 10,000 co-legislators, and 5,000 of them are interested in this bill, and 3,000 vote yes, and 2,000 vote no. And they send in these votes through the internet. And if they don't have internet access, they can go to a public library and vote there. And we have certain security measures to make sure that only one vote per person comes in.